Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a deep dive into a book or an idea. Today we're diving into Audrey Niffenegger's The Time Traveler's Wife, a novel that kind of twists the traditional love story by throwing in time travel.
Yeah, it really makes you think about relationships in a whole new light. Like, what happens when you fall in love with someone who's constantly slipping through time?
It's a really interesting concept. The story revolves around Henry de Tamble. He's a librarian, and he has this condition. It's called chronodisplacement disorder.
Right, and it causes him to involuntarily jump to different points in his life.
So he could end up meeting his, future self or past self. It's pretty wild.
And it's not just some random plot device. Henry's condition really shapes his relationship with Claire Absher. She's the woman he ends up falling in love with.
Imagine meeting the person you're going to marry, but completely out of order. You're seeing glimpses of their past and even their future before you really get to know them in the present.
It's really mind-bending when you think about it.
And that's exactly what Claire goes through. So when they first meet in the library, it seems normal to Henry. But Claire has actually known him since she was a kid because of his time traveling.
So their relationship starts off with this, built-in asymmetry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Claire grows up knowing Henry's going to be her husband, while Henry experiences everything out of sequence.
It's like she has this, spoiler alert for their entire relationship.
It really messes with your sense of how love is supposed to develop. The whole idea of getting to know someone gradually goes out the window.
And it raises these really interesting questions about fate versus free will. If Henry already knows what's going to happen, does he actually have any control over his actions?
Right. And how does that affect Claire's choices in the relationship? Does knowing the future limit her freedom? Or does it actually give her more agency in a way?
It's a fascinating dilemma.
And throughout the story, we see Claire's unwavering commitment to Henry, even though his condition causes her a lot of anxiety and uncertainty.
Yeah, it's like she's always waiting for the other shoe to drop, not knowing when he might disappear again.
Plus, there's the danger he faces whenever he time travels. He could end up somewhere dangerous or even get hurt.
Absolutely. But despite all these challenges, their love story still manages to blossom.
We see them going through all the typical relationship milestones, like birthdays, dealing with family, and trying to create some kind of normalcy amidst all the chaos of Henry's unpredictable travels.
Yeah, and Niffenegger doesn't shy away from exploring the more intimate aspects of their relationship either. There are moments where Henry's time traveling disrupts things in a really personal way.
It forces them to redefine their boundaries and what it means to trust each other in a very unique situation.
One of the most powerful themes in the book is how Henry's condition impacts their desire to start a family. They struggle with repeated miscarriages, which really highlights the heartbreaking consequences of his disorder.
It makes you question what choices are even possible when you're facing that kind of adversity.
Absolutely. And it's these complex themes that make The Time Traveler's Wife so captivating. We see their relationship put to the test in ways most couples could never imagine.
It forces them, and us as readers, to confront some really big questions about love, loss, and the nature of time itself.
It's a story that stays with you long after you finish reading it. We've been talking about how Henry's disorder messes with the whole timeline of their relationship. But it's more than just a plot twist. Niffenegger really uses it to dive into some deep stuff about memory and how we experience things.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that for Claire, her memories of Henry are woven into her entire life. They shape who she is from the time she's a little girl.
Right. But for Henry, it's totally different. Those same memories, they're fragmented. They pop up at random times and don't really fit into how he's living his life in a linear way.
Can you imagine suddenly remembering a super important moment with someone you love? Like a memory they've held on to for years, and you have no clue it even happened.
It would be so disorienting. And that disconnect is at the core of Henry and Claire's relationship.
There's this scene where it really hits home. Henry finally remembers their first meeting in the meadow as an adult.
Oh, yeah, that's a powerful one.
It dawns on him that this little girl he's been visiting all these years is actually going to be his wife.
It's a perfect example of how love can exist outside of time. Their connection is built on years of shared experiences, even if they happen out of order.
And this whole out-of-sync thing has a huge impact on them trying to have a family. Their attempts to have a kid end in heartbreak over and over again because of how Henry's time traveling affects things genetically.
It's so sad. They go through all those miscarriages. It's like their resilience is constantly being tested.
But Niffenegger doesn't just make it this tragic event. She really digs into the emotional toll it takes on both Henry and Clare. And we see how Clare has to make some really tough decisions.
It's a reminder that even with love as strong as theirs, there are just some things that are beyond their control. The book doesn't try to give you easy answers about fate and if we have a choice in things.
Right. And, Niffenegger's take on time travel is different from a lot of sci-fi stories.
Yeah, she's not just using it for thrills.
She uses it to examine how cause and effect work and the way our past, present, and future all connect.
If Henry knows what's going to happen, can he change it? Does knowing take away his free will, or does it give him the power to do things differently? These are questions that run through the whole story.
Definitely. But even though the book tackles some really heavy stuff, it also has moments of humor and tenderness.
For sure. Henry's time-traveling mishaps are often hilarious. Like, they give you a break from the more serious parts of the story.
Like, remember when Henry tries to make up for being a terrible gift giver? He uses his time traveling to get Clare her dream wedding dress. It's a total disaster.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's a mess. But it shows how far he'll go for love, even if he goes about it in the most ridiculous way.
Those small moments, those everyday things make their relationship feel real. We see them dealing with the craziness of time travel, but also just trying to build a life together like any other couple.
And I think that's what makes The Time Traveler's Wife so good. It's a story that challenges what we think about love and time and the choices we make in our own lives.
Totally. It reminds us that even when things seem impossible, love can find a way. And the memories we make, the time we spend with the people we love, are what really matter. They connect us across time and no matter what happens.
Beautifully said. It's those shared moments that form the story of our lives.
We've spent this deep dive exploring Henry and Clare, a love story unlike any other, bound by time travel and all its uncertainty. But as we come to the end of The Time Traveler's Wife, Niffenegger brings us face to face with something we all have to deal with: mortality.
Throughout the story, we see Henry's time traveling becoming riskier. His jumps are more frequent, harder to predict, and the danger he faces during those time displacements, well, it just gets worse.
Yeah, there's this sense of dread that builds as we see Henry's body start to show the physical signs of his travels.
Right. He appears with injuries, scars from encounters in the past or maybe the future. It's a constant reminder of how fragile life really is.
It all leads to a really tragic moment. Henry dies during one of his time travels.
Yeah.
It's so sudden, and it leaves Clare and their daughter Alba to figure out life without him.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. But Niffenegger doesn't leave us in despair. Instead, she focuses on how love and memories can live on even after someone is gone.
Clare finds strength in the memories they made together in that extraordinary tapestry of their love that stretched across time.
She raises Alba, sharing stories about her father's time-traveling adventures, making sure his legacy continues.
And then there's this bittersweet twist. Alba inherits her father's chronodisplacement disorder.
It's like a symbol of their connection passed down through generations.
It opens up the possibility that Alba might catch glimpses of her father in the past, continuing the cycle of time travel and love that defines their family.
The ending of the book is both sad and hopeful. It acknowledges the pain of loss, but it also celebrates the lasting power of love and connection.
Henry's absence is a huge part of their lives, but his presence remains in the hearts of those who loved him.
The Time Traveler's Wife makes us think about how time moves, how strong memories can be, and the complicated nature of love that goes beyond the limits of our everyday lives.
It's a story that challenges how we see time and how important the moments we share with those we love truly are. We hope this deep dive has inspired you to pick up The Time Traveler's Wife and explore these ideas for yourself.
If you enjoy stories that break the mold and make you think about what it means to be human, we highly recommend giving it a read. And don't forget to subscribe to The Deep Dive for more explorations of captivating stories and ideas.